international experiences that are actually very known and that most of you already implement within your universities, and how can these have an impact on the institution's attractiveness and visibility. So one very good tendency about these international experiences are the collaborative online international learning, mostly known as COIL. So in COIL programs, faculty members from different institutions, they co-design and co-teach a shared learning module that will allow students to work together on projects, case studies, to have discussions in very international and multicultural environments. So COIL course is not necessarily a new course, but it is rather a new way to deliver an existing course. So it allows an active and interactive learning where students can work together on projects, on case studies or discussions, and they are encouraged to communication and teamwork across these cultural differences and academic differences as well, and that helps them build intercultural competencies. So it is an innovative educational approach that connects the students and faculty from different institutions to engage in a shared virtual learning experience with the use of the digital tools. For the use of the digital tools, we can mention all the existing tools such as tools and platforms such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Moodle, and everything that can facilitate the collaboration. And in terms of impact for an institution, a COIL can enhance the internationalization by providing students with a global learning experience without, of course, requiring any form of physical travel. It can also increase the accessibility for diverse student population. So we are talking here about inclusivity as well. It helps students develop key soft skills like communication, teamwork, digital skills, and everything, which prepares them very well for the global employment market, for any other international experiences that they may have. And it strengthens the academic partnerships and enhances the global recognition of the institution, which of course boosts the institutional visibility of the institution. We have also the MOOCs, the massive open online courses that are designed to reach a large and global audience. They are free or free-based, and they are accessible to anyone with an internet connection. They often integrate interactive elements such as quizzes, discussion forums, peer review assignments, and certificates of completion can complement this learning experience. And it is not only open to students, but also to lifelong learners and to professionals that are seeking for skills development. So this is a very interesting way of providing a course that is reachable by any interested person, not only students, as we said, but also lifelong learners and professionals who wish to train. And it can have a very important impact on an institution, because it allows university to share their expertise with a worldwide audience and to increase their global reach and visibility. It also is a very good way to showcase the faculty expertise, and learners can also explore the university's teaching quality before committing possibly to a full degree program within the university. It also showcases the modern teaching methods of the university through the use of the various interactive learning methods that it has put in place. So all these digital learning methods such as videos, AI-based assessments, discussions forums, and so on. And of course, it enhances the inclusion ethics of the university, the global knowledge sharing, and the continuous education for all. So MOOCs can be delivered through various platforms. We can cite, for instance, edX, Coursera, FutureLearn, Udacity, FunMOOC, and so on. And it finally allows universities to share their expertise with a worldwide audience. There is also the micro-certification. So micro-certification are short learning programs that are usually industry aligned. The targets of these micro-certifications are usually working professionals or lifelong learners, but also, of course, the students and international students, and it results in a digital badge or certificates. So these micro-certifications are short focused learning programs that are designed to teach a very specific skills or competencies. So they result as with a digital badge or certificate that can be shared by the attendees on their professional networks like LinkedIn and everything. And this has a very interesting impact as well on the institutions, because in these models, the institutions position themselves as pioneers in the global online education market with a recognized micro-certification that the universities can stand out in international recruitment. So it enhances it first allows universities to propose programs to a large audience of people who may not enroll in full-time degrees. It enhances the university's visibility in global rankings and in employers' networks, and it also strengthens the employer-university ties and enhances the graduate employability. So the institution's global presence is visible. It attracts diverse learnings. It fosters also the role of a university in this university-industry relation, and it fosters industry partnerships. It increases digital engagement. And finally, micro-certification is not only a way to reach global audience, but it is also a way to reach the international global market and global industries. So which adds another target to this international internationalization tool. Another important way to ensure more attractiveness and visibility of the institution is through the use of virtual reality and augmented reality. So these are a little bit more hard to put in place because they need more efforts, staff efforts, more equipment. But in both cases, AR and VR are digital environments that provide virtual experiences. Augmented reality actually complements the real-world environment by overlaying digital objects onto it, which help augmenting and enhancing the real-life experience of the student or of the recipient with extra information. So they are used by the institutions through interactive and gamified learning activities. And they enable institutions, when used efficiently, to propose, for instance, the exploration of an environment scenario or a perspective that would be actually impossible or impractical for the recipient to experience in real life. Example, and this is also an example from one of our ongoing projects, is to propose an immersive virtual reality experience discovery of a campus. So it is now, by the way, a tendency of some institutions to propose in their website a virtual reality or augmented reality experience discovery of the campus in which the students potentially wish to enroll. So the use of AR and VR in an institution can showcase the university capacity into the integration and into the use of technology. And of course, it enhances its attractivity. Another way is a more traditional way, is how to use the traditional tools to enhance its visibility through the organization, for instance, of the online conferences on different topics when your institution has the expertise in these topics, but also to organize open webinars, to provide educative podcasts that can be shared and heard from various targets, not only locally or regionally, but also globally. They allow to invite to reach a larger audience, and this can highlight the institution's expertise. It can allow to reach a large audience, as I was saying, of various profiles and countries. It enhances the inclusion ethic of the institution, thanks to the global reach, and also thanks to the very easy of use platform, because webinars, online conferences, educative podcasts are usually posted in very common platforms and easy of use, such as YouTube, for instance, or for the podcasts, we can mention also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so on. So it enhances the institution attractivity, and it allows to valorize the institution's expertise in one or several topics. Of course, I didn't mention here, but the use of the social media, which is important in how to bring the light on your institution's activities. So these were a few concrete examples of internationalization experiences or tools by the digital that can enhance the institution global presence or the institution attractivity. Now, another important element into enhancing the internationalization is to include the internationalization with and for society concept. So it is something that is transcendent to all the workshop that I have been giving, but it's important to highlight this internationalization with and for society concept because it is the current trend of the universities to engage in how they can have a concrete local and global impact worldwide by the preparation of their students, of their recipients, of their staff and everyone to these global challenges that everyone are facing. So, internationalization and society are two concepts that are being interconnected to one another in the context of higher education institutions. Internationalization and society means allowing for cultural exchange and diversity by also having an economic impact and by addressing global challenges. So cultural exchange and diversity by promoting the exchange of ideas, values, perspectives. Internationalization fosters the cultural diversity and understanding within the educational environments. It encourages students to appreciate and to engage with different cultures, promoting mutual respect and reducing prejudices. And this cultural exchange enriches both the host and the home societies, contributing to social cohesion and to a more inclusive community. And this is a role that institutions, a major role that institutions can play to ensure this cultural exchange and diversity of their own students and of those students that they are welcoming. About the economic impact, internationalization can lead to significant economic benefits, not only for the educational institutions, but also for society at large. International students, for instance, are contributing financially through tuition fees, living expenses, and their presence often support the local economies. So the skills and the global networks also that these students bring can enhance the innovation and the global business opportunities. Internationalization and society is also about addressing global challenges. Higher education institutions that embrace internationalization, they play a critical role in addressing global challenges, such as public health, social inequality, climate change, and so on. Collaborative research, for instance, across borders, enable the sharing of knowledge and resources, which lead to a more comprehensive and effective solutions to addressing these global challenges. And finally, all these efforts contribute to societal well-being on a global scale. Another important part of internationalization for society is the notion of global competence of the students, but not only the students, also the staff and every stakeholders that is related with the society. So global competence is the capacity to understand and act on issues of global significance. So it involves the ability to communicate across cultural and linguistic boundaries, to also understand the global issues from multiple perspectives, and to engage effectively into these diverse environments. So in the context of higher education, fostering global competence means equipping the students with the skills to navigate in the complexities of this interconnected world. So the development of global competence through internationalization is made possible through the exposure of to different cultures and different educational systems, through the study abroad programs, through the international curricula, through the multicultural campuses that help the students develop global competence. So by these experiences, they can learn to analyze global issues critically. They can approach problems from diverse viewpoints. They can collaborate with peers from different backgrounds. And this finally prepares them to contribute meaningfully to a globalized workforce and society. And this is the role that the institutions have to play, as well as putting an importance on the impact that they can have on society. So individuals with strong global competence are better equipped to take the leadership roles in diverse international settings. They can address social challenges. with a broader perspective and a more likely to advocate for sustainable and equitable solutions. And this, in turn, promotes a more peaceful, just, and prosperous global society. And of course, not only global, we can mention about also the regional and local impact that the institutions will have by this preparation of the global competence of their students and their first targets locally. So this will put institutions as having a major role for the impact and for the local and regional development. We can also talk about global citizenship. So these are somehow interrelated, but they are different though. So global citizenship of the students is related to the global awareness of the institution as a whole in the internationalization practices. So global citizenship is the recognition that one is a member of a global community with responsibilities that extend beyond its national borders, and it involves a sense of solidarity and responsibility towards a broader human community. And it also supposes the awareness of the student or of the citizen on the different local, regional, and global challenges that are affecting his way of life. So, international institutions or institutions that are engaged to this internationalization process actually have a major role in instilling the values of empathy, social responsibility, ethical engagement of the students, and through international experiences and exposure to global issues, the student can effectively develop a sense of belonging to a global community. So they become aware of their roles as global and local citizens and the impact of their actions locally and globally. So this resonates with the societal impact, because global citizenship resonates strongly with the contemporary societal needs, where global challenges require collective action and international cooperation. As higher education institutions promote global citizenship, they contribute to the development of individuals who are committed to creating a more equitable and sustainable world. So these global citizens can influence the policy, they can drive social change, and they can inspire others to contribute to the common goods. So to summarize this part, we can say that higher education institutions have to be updated on the current trends, tendencies, and practices in order to adapt to their internationalization process. There is someone with his mic on. I think it's Ali Ben Hamiden. Thank you. So institutions have to adapt to the different tendencies and practices in the internationalization process in compliance with the global existing trends that are finally all interconnected with the application of the digital into the process. And they have to think about adopting a very holistic approach and comprehensive approach that integrates the digital to better serve the purpose of the institution's global and regional attractivity and visibility. So all these aspects related to global citizenship, global competence, and global and local preparation of the students is one essential and inevitable part of how an institution can engage efficiently in the internationalization. Now, last but not least, in how to enhance engagement and commitment of the institution through digital tools is how to foster the communication and international visibility through the efficient use of digital platforms and networks. So, a strong online presence is the foundation of international visibility of higher education. So universities must invest in well-structured website, in social media marketing, in digital advertising to always reach a global audience. So this digital marketing and online presence can go through the massive use of the social media platforms, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, TikTok, and so on, through the use of key messages and valorization of the university's expertise, through the highlight of any relevant event that can that take place within the university, and to communicate about it, to try to reach as much audience and global audience as possible. Also to invite international experts that can bring the light on your event or on your institution, to broadcast engaging content such as student testimonials, live Q&A sessions, and so on, and to engage in broadcasting as much and relevant online conferences and webinars through online platforms that are very easy of use and accessible, as we were saying earlier, such as YouTube, for instance. Before I go to the next and last part, which is action planning, designing and applying digitalization to your higher education institution. Does anyone have a question or a comment? Yes, I see someone with her hands raised. Yes, Zina? Zina, would you like to ask a question? No? Okay.
Sorry, can I comment a bit? I
Yes,
didn't raise my
please.
hand. Okay, I wanted to comment on internationalization, on the economic impact, something to do with the value of currencies. That when currencies are of low value in some places or in some countries, when international exchanges happen requiring financial commitment and tuition fees, those with low financial capabilities are disadvantaged, and that needs to be addressed at some point so that there is some way of giving value to those who have low value currencies, because if all international curricula or tuition is standardized to the dollar, for example, countries that have weak currencies may be disadvantaged, so that students from those countries cannot effectively engage in situations that require physical mobility or payment of tuition that requires their currency to be used. Thank you.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. You're raising a very important point. But unfortunately, from our levels, I don't think we can do something for this. But it's sure that allowing for eventually for more financial capabilities to the students who have to go abroad can be one solution so far to help them live in the country where they are going to. So, action planning. how to apply, to design and apply the digitalization to your higher education institution in a way that this holistic and comprehensive approach of internationalization is taken into consideration. So here we have highlighted 5 specific points. First of all, taking into account the academic strategies, but also the organizational strategies, external relations, the student and faculty support, and the technology integration. And these aspects shall help institutions into defining a strategy that can enhance their attractivity and visibility, and of course that can enhance their own services. So this table presents 3 key academic strategies for the internationalization of higher education institutions. It is recommended that they shall first focus on internationalizing academic programs, research collaborations, and curricula. To make programs more globally relevant by integrating international perspectives into teaching and research. It also includes offering courses in English, of course, and developing international modules with global institutions, with foreign institutions. And these, when designing this kind of academic program or research collaboration or international curricula, it shall improve the students' competitiveness in the job market. So this is one important point that institutions shall take into account when designing their academic strategies, but also their organizational strategies and so on, is to take into consideration the final impact that it will have on students, or the final impact they would like to have on students and on international students, not only their own. So the second element of the academic strategies is to develop joint degree programs with international partners. So this involves creating dual degrees or co-degree programs with partners institutions abroad. And it allows students to earn a diploma that is recognized in multiple countries, thus increasing their global mobility and their global employability. And it helps attracting more international students, and it strengthens the institution's reputation. Another component is to promote the student and faculty exchanges by encouraging student mobility with whichever program that exists, Erasmus+, bilateral agreements, and scholarship supports, and so on. And it enriches the campus diversity. It enhances the attractiveness of the academic programs. And of course, it's also good when a university can say that it has a large amount of or percentage of international students within its curriculum, its programs, or its university. So, of course, all these elements should be defined with the digital dimension as well. So, for the organizational strategies, so the idea is to establish a clear governance structures for the internationalization efforts to ensure that the higher education institution leaders are bringing and all the services of the institutions are bringing support and resource allocation to allow for these academic programs to efficiently take place, and to create dedicated offices or task forces for this kind of international initiatives. And we will see that a bit later on which are the different actors that have to be involved for an international strategy. an international efficient strategy, and how these have to interact among themselves to ensure that this strategy is well implemented. In order to plan for a good international strategy planning, we also have to think about the external relations. So the idea is to build partnerships with key foreign institutions and organizations to engage in multiple and relevant international research collaborations and to participate in global academic networks and consortia. For instance, on this point, just to share about our institution commitment in networks, Université Côte d'Azur has participated several times in the different United Nations conferences, especially when they are related to human rights. And we have a small consortium of experts in law and human rights within the university that are always keen and interested to participate in these kind of networks. And finally, it allowed our institution to have an observatory seat to some of these international events. So whenever they take place, Université Côte d'Azur is represented and has a voice to talk about its point of view on the topic raised. So I think that it's a relevant point for an institution to engage into and to commit into different kind of networks and consortia that can bring some light on it and that can enhance the visibility of the institution worldwide. And last but not least, the technology integration. The idea is to leverage online learning platforms for international course offerings, as we were reviewing earlier, to use the digital tools to facilitate the global research collaboration and to create it again dedicated offices or task force for these kind of international initiatives that need technology or digitalization. So this was for the strategy planning. And now I would like to make a focus on the importance, again, of adapting a holistic approach in the implementation of the strategy. So how to build a holistic approach in implementing internationalization at home strategy. So here are listed the various institutional actors that are involved in the international process of an institution. So higher education institution leaders, academic staff, international relations offices, university industry relations services, which plays an important role, as we were saying earlier. The students, of course, because they are the final recipients of all or most of these efforts. The IT services and pedagogical supports, which play so essential role. The language support services and student affairs and support services. So especially in the digital era, the support of the IT service and the pedagogical support is becoming inevitable and very, very essential in order for the institution to implement digital learning experiences to its students effectively. So when designing the strategy and implementing this strategy, meaning the international strategy, the idea is to think about all the actors of a university that have to be involved in the process and to articulate the university's vision and strategic objectives with the recipient needs, so the students, and the stakeholders' interests. I'm thinking about the industry, for instance, but we can see that in a more large way, all the global industry. So how to prepare the final recipients, which are the students, to to work in a global context or to work in a foreign industry or country and so on. So stakeholders are all the relevant persons that will be involved or impacted by one way or another by the strategy that you will be implementing. So the idea is when designing and implementing an international or global activity or an experience, a partnership, a double degree or whatever, is to think about the added value that the recipients and the stakeholders can earn from such an experience and how to enhance its implementation for it to be integral and global oriented. So institutions have to always base their strategies on their capacities and on their strengths, and to take advantage of the input of one another to build up these capacities. For instance, here, with all these actors that can be involved or have to be involved in international strategy, the academic and the research staff have not the same input to add, such as the international relations offices, for instance, or the IT services and pedagogical supports. They have not the same input, such as the language support services. So the idea is to harmonize these various capacities and to organize their collaboration in a way to enhance the strategy implementation and to create a real added value. For instance, if you want to create a coil, because we were talking about that earlier, of course you will need the upstream creation of the program thanks to the international relations offices, but you will need then the input of the academic staff for the designing and the deployment of the content. Then you will need the support of the IT services for the creation of the relevant online experiences. You may need the support of the languages services also to provide a few English or language courses to prepare the students to this international experience. And in all this implementation, you will always need to be attentive to the real student needs and design something that will actually be of an added value to their course. I forgot to mention also the role, for instance, of the student affairs and support services, but also somehow of the administrative staff in this kind of international experiences of the students, is to provide support, concrete support, either physical or online, that can enhance the experience, that can facilitate the international experience, such as organizing events, such as, events among the students to enhance, for instance, the inclusion of the foreign students, to enhance the knowing each other part, and to facilitate all the first how do you say, the first inclusion part that foreign students have when arriving to another country, for instance. And all these actors finally have to play an important role, and the idea is for institutions to organize this interaction between these services in order to make efficient all the efforts that institutions are doing to make sure they are attractive internationally and visible internationally. So I think I have finished a bit more earlier than expected, but this was the final part I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you have a question or comment. Yes, Joël?
Yeah, thank you, Darlenda. Mine are more It's both comments and queries. And for me, I'm talking from, I'll call it personal experience. My training, being architecture, it's very practical. And you'll find that with my specialty on issues of technology, it's even more practical. And I've always experienced a bias in terms of internationalization, in the sense that you find that what we'll consider to be advanced levels of technology here in Kenya, you find that our collaborators outside, some of them feel that it's inferior. And you'll always have that problem because someone feels that your approach is inferior than what they have there. So it creates a problem because at the end of the day, you find that there are solutions that they feel are better. They don't work in this country. And for me, I will ask you, while we are talking about internationalization, can we look at the niche of localization? Because we are all human beings, we are not robots. So you'll find that you have those regional unique traits from a region, from a country, how they do things, that when you try and mash everything in terms of internationalizing everything, you find that there are these unique regional things that if they're not taken care of, then you find that one trait or one region colonizes the other. At the end of the day, it does not give meaningful solutions. And as a country of noticed it, you find that when we have, in quotes, we'll call them consultants from outside, they come and do things with utmost good faith, how they feel it has to be done. But we'll find that by the time it's being implemented in the country, and even in our construction sector, they don't work. So is there a way that, besides internationalizing these things, can we create a niche of localizing the internationalized thing, so that as much as we have these international standards, we need to be wary of the local things, of how the local trends are? That's one. Number two, I've been listening to your presentation, and this is my personal opinion. I feel that this presentation was better or would have been effective if you are dealing with the administrators of our institutions. If you work with the top-down approach, okay, you will find that for most of us being researchers, we may not be at the administrative level. So however much I would want even to implement some of the recommendations you're making, me as a researcher at that level, I don't have so much influence, okay? So is there a way that you can package your presentation on a top-down approach, and let's be specific, so that when you're dealing with administrators, there are key things that they need to see and they need to understand and they need to implement. When you're dealing with us researchers, we'll be able to enable some of these things if the top level has been convinced and has been able to see the need of some of these things.
Okay. Thank you for this interesting input. So if we had to take the approach from an administrative point of view, as you were suggesting, I will actually be more focused on all this last part of the workshop that I presented, on how to build a holistic approach in the internationalization strategy, and explain which role the specific administrative staff would have to play, meaning in the creation of the partnerships, because this is who is involved for the internationalization strategy, how they can support the various services like the academic, the international relations offices, the industry relations services, and how they can make these interactions among the different actors of the university to ensure that the internationalization strategy would be well implemented. This is how I see the things from an administrative point of view on how to enhance internationalization strategy. Because the internationalization strategy from a higher a leader or a governance point of view is how they can how they should involve their university in the process, and which objectives they would like to have, which is the vision of the university, long-term, short-term vision, and then the administrative, they start working into the objectives set out by the leaders or by the governance, and they implement this by the creation of the partnerships with the targets, by the implementation of all the tools that are recognized, and so on. As for your first question, if I understood correctly, you were mentioning about how to build up capacities locally for some universities who don't have access to some tools, as we were talking about, or for instance for these international tools that cannot be applied to the local context. Is that right?
Yes, that is more or less correct, but it was just more of a comment that as much as internationalization sets international standards, we need to be wary of the unique regional traits all over the world. Okay, it's a thing that when you look at it, and for me, I'll use the whatever towards construction. Let me just use a basic thing. Okay, if you go put up a building in America, most of the times you use boats. Okay, but try do it here in Kenya, no one will even buy or even want to live in that house because they feel that it's a temporary house. Okay, so you find that as much as technology has advanced and we have the issues of CNC that help in doing these buildings in the context of a factory, when you try and come with that technology on face value here, everyone will just look at you. You'll put up buildings and no one will even purchase them. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's the standardization through internationalization. Though in that process, we need to look at what are those unique traits for each region and how can we accommodate them, or how can we adapt whatever we are doing to the local trends. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I agree with what you're saying. This is something also, that's why it's important for institutions, as they play this major role, to collaborate regionally in trying to create innovative ways that are helping them and that can be really tailor-made to their needs. So that's it's let's say a small element that will not, this is not the solution, I mean, but it's something interesting for institutions to collaborate regionally or locally and to try to create this kind of networks where they can collaborate and innovate in whatever field they need to. Yes, Martin?
Yeah, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I'm not sure if you hear me. Do you hear me?
I do, yes.
All right. So I just want to pick up from where Joel was speaking, but mine is more of a question, really. How do we, let's say, use, or how do you, within the context of the workshop, would like us to integrate, let's say, the internationalization of, let's say, learning and learning management with the digitalization? How will this information you've given us today, for example, be useful in the digitalization process? I'm not sure if I got it right, but I just wanted to, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, so with internationalization is not a bad idea, but how can it be, let's say, relevant let's say, in the digitalization process, if we're trying to measure it, if we're trying to implement it, or we're trying to achieve it as a goal, these seem almost as if they're two separate things. Unless you're saying we want us to do it at the same time. I don't know. This is my question, really.
Well, it's both separate and interconnected, because internationalization is now working in an interconnected world, interconnected through the digital means. We connect with the others thanks to these digital means. So now, if you want to bring visibility to your institution or attractivity from other stakeholders, global stakeholders, or other foreign students, you necessarily have to provide means that can allow for them to connect to your institution wherever they are in the world. So this is how we bring the digital learning experiences and the application of the digitalization in education or in research.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
I don't know if I.
Yes, yes. No,
Yeah.
you answered it somehow, but it's still deeper than that. In that, you'll find in the digitalization of learning, for example, you find there are models that are different, let's say, from the West, for example, or even the East, and let's say African scenarios. One of the reasons why you find
Recording stopped.
Africans are alienated to the digitalization process is largely because the digitalization method itself is alienating. And particularly in learning, we find that it doesn't allow us to implement learning methodologies in ways that we implement them in the classroom, even you could say in person. So now, you see, that alienation already means the moment we're digitalizing, we're already favoring a model that is un-African, or let's say is European. It could be already European, built into the technology that we're using for digitalization. So my question then becomes, and it's a challenge also to ourselves as Africans, is to what extent are we prepared to rework these tools that we're using, and even the processes themselves, so that we can be much more participatory and also equal in the participation with a partner who is using tools that favor, methods that suit their culture. Just to give an example, you find the goal of learning in Europe, for example, is to create autonomy and self-governance amongst learners. Learners need to be independent individuals and be able to be self-sufficient within themselves. And this is the goal of learning. But in Africa, the goal of learning only starts there, but it requires the learner to be integrated into society. So you see, it's a very different model. If you're saying the goal is to be integrated into society, and the other one, the goal is to be self-governing, then you might find if we're studying robotics, we're going to create robots that make you self-sufficient. And then the whole learning experience is geared towards that. And it may be at cross purposes, let's say, to what the goal of learning is within African context. So that's just one example. But if you start getting into technical universities, which have very unique requirements in the way in which they implement learning, one wonders whether we're even talking horizontally in that way, and to what extent are you yourselves flexible to hearing new ideas from us in ways that we can make this a playing field in which Africans, you can argue, can be horizontal with Europeans or even other players from other parts of the world when learning, teaching, and digitalizing, let's say, our experiences within this space. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but I'm trying to say very many things in one sentence.
Yes, it's an interesting point of view. I don't know if we have some comments from our African colleagues here, because it's something that is very relevant actually to the African context. Oh.
If I may add something just for colleagues who are familiar with, let's say, using Moodle. You see, Moodle is good. It has many good things in it. And, everything we talk about, like what you talked about, internationalization, would work very nicely within a Moodle environment. But Moodle presupposes some things. It presupposes that learning is best when it starts at the top and you go down and scroll down and keep scrolling down and you learn in this linear fashion. It's an assumption that this is the best way to learn. It also is not as participatory as learning is when you're in person. For example, in African context, you find there's a lot of mentorship, especially in technical universities, that is part of the learning experience. So, you know, if we're implementing, let's say, and you mentioned tailoring and customization, if we were to work with Moodle, we have to get into tailoring and deep customization in order for it to work in a way that we would want to work in a, we call it juakali, but let me call it, you know, a way in which you work with people who are hands-on and working in their fields in engineering, for example, and they're hands-on. So when you're working in the field, you're working with a mentor, and the mentor is guiding you, and there's a way in which it works. But implementing that in a Moodle experience, you find is not possible unless, and then you start getting into deep customization. But it's almost like taking a hammer and making it do what a screwdriver was supposed to do. So there are these kind of things. And for us, we're interested in this, but we want to look at it from the perspective of can we develop new processes or even tools that are conducive to our indigenous local methods. And then from that perspective, develop an identity which is digital and then integrate it now into what we would say is an international identity. This is the kind of thinking that is entering my head as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. But again, this is why institutions should collaborate together to define which is the most useful way to approach this learning or this teaching experience or whatever. And what I was talking about is not about saying this is the good way to do internationalization. No, of course, each institution, each country, each region have to adapt its internationalization to its own habits or how it works regionally before trying to have an impact internationally. So if the way to teach within your institution is how you described it, then the way could be how can you use this, keep this training or learning way, and trying to make it more efficient or to give the chance to a larger community to do so through the use of digital means, because I mean this is what we were talking about. But if the digital means are not so needed, then you are not forced to do that. I saw someone who raised its hands from Technical University of Kenya. David.
Yes, good afternoon all. So I really appreciate our introduction into internationalization and also digitalization. So my comment is that in the past we've been sort of absorbing, like the previous speaker was speaking about Moodle. We've simply been absorbing what has been produced by the West. But I think now we have a chance of collaborating with the West to produce programs that come with each of our unique needs. Like where technical university wants hands-on experience, we can actually add on that to an international program that requires some sort of individualization. And we can come up with now unique programs that will encompass the needs of different regions. So if you collaborate between Africa, South America, and Europe and develop a program, it will now create an all-rounded student who can work in any of these regions because we have encompassed a little of everything that is in all these regions. So I'm really appreciative of the talk, and I'm really looking forward to the next few talks on internationalization and seeing how best we can actually act and develop what is unique, what will work in various regions, as opposed to Africa developing what it wants, Europe developing what it wants or what is in line with its culture, and other places developing what is in their culture. We are getting more global, and we need a person who has learned in Africa to very quickly adjust to working in Europe. So how can he do this? By having a program that encompasses both the cultures of Africa and Europe within the same program. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Yes, Martin?
I can still make another input. I'm assuming we can still talk. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. You see, I like what my colleague said on the other side, and it raises questions about you can say the extent to which internationalization is an essential need, let's say, within the learning process. I just want to mention, you mentioned a lot about the industry, especially when it comes to technical universities. The industry connection is very strong. So I would argue that 95% of our students will work in the local industries, and maybe 5% of our students would work in international contexts. And of course, you want them to all be flexible enough to migrate between local and foreign contexts. Our fear, which we need to obviously discuss and see how to work it out, is that if you digitize, which is necessary, so digitalization helps the local as well as the international context, digitization or digitalization. It's useful for both local and international contexts. If it were that we were to digitalize with a strong emphasis on internationalization, then the question on to what extent are we addressing local needs comes up. And in learning, it's significant because you may find that the goal of, let's say, just the one I mentioned, of societal integration and integration of different, Africans are very diverse. We're not monolithic. So integration is a very strong element in anything that we do because we have to cut across not only different nations, but different tribes within the nations. And we recognize each other, but we, in our learning, recognize how we can work together. It's a very critical part of the African DNA, if you like. So if you're digitalizing, how do you retain that without making us so homogeneous that we lose our identities? There's a sense of that. And if 95% of us will work in local contexts, how do we then emphasize, how much do we emphasize digitalization and internationalization at the same time? I mean, should we also, as my colleague Joel was saying, there might be a strong need for us to equally emphasize localization or at least adaptation to the local condition so that people are not educated out of their own context. There is that kind of thinking. And anyway, I'm interested in the discussion. I wonder how the Europeans deal with it, because also if it were that you had a situation, like one time we were making games, just games. And this game was simply, the goal of the game was to go from one end of Nairobi to the other, that's all, and get a Nairobi experience. But we were working with Germans. It was difficult for the Germans to contribute to that story because they've never walked from one end of Nairobi to the other, you see. So in some ways, there is a formula or even a curriculum that would be interesting and a methodology that would allow for the integration to take place where two partners who have very different contexts can contribute meaningfully to each other's goals. It's interesting. So I don't know if you have that formula or whether we have to evolve it together and see how to work it out so that digitalization and internationalization and localization can all take place in one place.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one comment to add to what you said is how can we reach local population through digitalization? Or how can one university can reach a local population outside internationalization? If the idea is first to build up the local capacities before engaging into internationalization.
Are you asking it as a question we respond? You want us to respond?
It's a comment, but then if you have other comment to add or if you have an answer.
Well, for me, my immediate reaction is it's a good question. Which one comes first? Digitization and internationalization, or digitization and localization? And it's a kind of chicken and egg question, but for practical purposes, it's good to make one antecedent of the other. In other words, it's better to make the argument that we have to do something first and then follow the other. The other follows naturally. Like, for example, I would say, why not have an identity first? Which means digitization and localization makes sense because it gives you an identity, a local identity. So that when you engage in the international stage, you come as someone. You don't come as someone without an identity. You come as someone with a local identity, even if it's a local learning identity. And the other person is the same. So now we're asking a different question. How do we integrate your local identity with foreign identities, and what works, what doesn't work, but your identity is clear? That's how I would answer that question in my mind as I'm thinking. And one of the reasons, or let's say arguments in favor of it, would be that if 95% of us are going to practice our trade locally, and when I say local, I also mean regionally, then it makes sense that we should cater to that interest, so that we are not, you can argue, at the mercy of an international situation where, if for any reason, as you know, it happens sometimes, international relations break down, you have nothing to fall back on. You need to fall back on something. So it does make a reasonable argument for the local condition coming before the international one. That means if we're going to talk of internationalization, we need to then talk about localization, as Joel was saying, and we have a clarity of it, so that we pivot off that. Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm seeing you nodding. Maybe it makes some sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. Building local capacities first. So do we have any other further question? I see that someone has asked to send the presentation. Yes, of course, I will send it to you by email just after this end of the workshop. Do we have any further question or comment? If not, I would like to... someone raised their hand. Yes, Zina Tayari.
Good afternoon, all, and I want to thank Mrs. Delanda for the insightful presentation. Do you hear me, Mrs. Delanda?
Yes, thank you.
So, Jack, I would like to explore a few key aspects of designing and applying digitalization to internationalizations in higher education institutes. Just, I have two comments. So the first one is, how can we ensure that our digitalization strategy aligns with our institution's broader internationalization's goals? This is the first comment. Secondly, are there specific best practices or success stories from other higher education institutes in the Europe or in the African, of course, that we can learn from to ensure our digitalizations efforts are both effective and sustainable? And thank you again, Mrs. Dananda, and I hope that my two comments were clear. And I have to also thank all the participants here. And thank you again.
Thank you, Zina.
Thank you.
So Zina has raised two questions. The first being how... I will begin with the other one. One of the questions was if institutions had a case study or experience to share about the sustainability in the application of digitalization in internationalization. Yes, Zina? I thought you raised the hand again. So does anyone from its institution has an experience to share about that?
Maybe you can repeat what you said. Which experience? I missed it.
Which experience can that one institution had can highlight the sustainability in the application of digitalization in internationalization?
Maybe allow me to just give an experience. Being a member of the Technical University of Kenya, once in a while we usually have these exchange programs between various institutions. And for me, I was involved in an exchange program with the Hochschule Augsburg. And one of the right home things was how, as an institution, they had been able to implement, especially Moodle, in how they do their programs. Okay, so there was a high level of digitalization. Okay, though it was localized with their programs, but being from a foreign whatever, you could see how digitalization of their programs was really helping them even enhance the studio experience. And for me, I think being one of the few adopters of Moodle at the Techno University of Kenya, it has been so helpful in running some of our programs. And that one takes me back to what I was mentioning, is that you see, you cannot be a one-man army in an institution, okay? For me, my background, my passion on issues of technology, the much I can do within myself, okay? But if it was a top-down initiative where even the administration is deliberate in ensuring that these tools are used, then you'll find that adoption will be high, and as an institution will be able to move further. Okay, so I was using that as an example where digitalization of internationalization has come in handy and allowed me also to still emphasize that that top-down initiative is very important. When that top-down initiative is not there, most of us will do it because we are passionate about these things. But one in like in our department, when you just say 1 out of 30, there's no much. As much as I will try to do it, is just, in fact, at times even students question why I use it, because you'll find that I'm the only one maybe who has fully adopted it. So at times I always feel weird that you are pushed to learn about Moodle, you are pushed to learn about all these aspects of Moodle. Then when you go to the next year, it's not used. Then what is the need? Thank you.
Thank you for the sharing of experience, Joel. I have another sharing of experience to do from our institution. As in 2019, we implemented a project that was called Movidis. And this project was a partnership cooperation project, an Erasmus Plus project, where we wanted to develop the virtual mobility of students in a time when it wasn't so omnipresent as today, because it was before COVID, a few years before COVID. And the idea was we created a consortia of various European institutions, and we allowed for students to enroll in different courses, economic courses of their choice among all these courses offered by these institutions. So the courses were all online, of course. They were in a hybrid format. So students from Germany, for instance, who were part of the project, they could enroll from their universities, participate in a German course, and also in another partner's course from Austria, for instance, or from France. And together with this first learning or academic first goal, the project provided various virtual sessions in order to allow for the students to know each other, to collaborate in various informal activities. So it was quite, let's say, a success when it was first selected as a project in 2019. But then, right after its first implementation, the COVID happened. And then it was very good from my point of view, because the students could have still undertake these courses and have a social interaction with the students and everything. So this was the very good part of it. But then right after the COVID crisis finished, it seemed that this level was no more relevant for students or for academic programs, as appeared so much more developed academic courses and programs. And the students that we had who were enrolled for 3 years program, then 4 years program, sorry, then had to like they weren't so satisfied at the end. But this is one experience that I could have shared about this. Yes, Jan?
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted, after you finish, I would also share Strathmore University's one of our experiences. Sorry, I didn't intend to interrupt you.
No, I finished. You can share your experience, please.
Okay, I'll be very brief. Strathmore University participated in what was called the Partnership for Enhanced and Blended Learning, which is a project just like yours, the years just before COVID. And this project was supposed to strengthen staff capacity, develop blended learning courses to be shared across East African universities. And what happened was the project supported a total of 23 universities in the region to develop, deliver, and share blended content. At the end of the project, we had developed 26 quality assured blended models developed on an open access platform, the OER Africa. Over 44,000 students enrolled on the Pebble modules, and this included 8,000 registered for courses outside their home institutions. 76 academics, African academics, were trained in this project to support online and blended learning in the region. At the end of it, we managed to involve more than 3,400 lecturers. Particularly for our university, I think this contributed a lot to our managing to survive during the COVID period, especially when the entire education sector went on lockdown. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this experience, and it's very interesting knowing about how it worked. Yes, Joel?
Thank you, mind just a follow-up question to Ian. It's good that when you get such I'll call them peer feedback from colleagues within the context that you work in. I would want to know the level of the participation or influence of the administration, the university administration, then in ensuring the success of this, because the numbers that you're talking about are huge, and it's very appreciative. And then number two, I will ask the courses that you are dealing with, were they just general, and or there was some particular? Because for me, I would want the bias towards the technical courses. And number three, are those websites still on? So if they are on, for some of us, we can just preview and see if they are relevant to our students. And we lose nothing by trying to assist our students to have a wider knowledge in the confines on where we work in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. Very good questions. We were very lucky to be coordinated and to be led by the Association of Commonwealth Universities. They did a splendid job to involve our vice chancellors and people at the very, very top. They had a very good communication strategy that ensured success in the project management. We also had the support of the Commonwealth of Learning, a Canadian organization. The Commission for University Education Kenya was a leading partner in this particular project. And this also involved their peer organizations in neighboring countries. The overall governance and management of the project was absolutely splendid, and I think that contributed a lot to the success and the reason why our 26 blended learning modules ended up being so successful, with 44,000 students enrolled in those modules. At the end of it, we were also lucky to use a certain quality assurance tool that again was shared with us by the Association of Commonwealth University. I think that also contributed a lot. Let me just briefly say that OER is still up and running. I could send you more information if you don't mind later, and we can correspond. I can tell you more about the Pebble project. There's quite a bit online. If you search Partnership for Enhanced and Blended Learning, you will find quite a bit still online, although now it's 5 or 6 years since this project ended. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. It's good because these kind of discussions can allow for further discussions or collaborations among the universities. Do we have any other comment or question from any other participant? No. If not, I would like you to switch on your cameras just to take 2 screenshots for the report that we have to do. So can everyone open its camera just for the time of a small screen photo, please? Okay. So I have a 2-page screen, so I will do two screens. Just 1 minute. Okay. First one, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And second one, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So thank you so much. I will share with you the presentation, of course. If you have any further question or anything that you would like to ask, please don't hesitate. We can communicate by email and we keep in contact. I hope this was adding some input to the topic. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yolanda. It was very instructive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks so much.